What's going on, everybody? TheKennyDubz here with another Mega Man X Dive character overview. Today we're going to be taking a look at Nana, as she is the most recent character that released in the global version of X Dive. So here we are taking a look at Nana, and she is absolutely adorable. I never actually played Command Mission, so I never got to experience what she's like in that game. But let's take a look at how she is in X Dive, and I think she's a pretty interesting character. First up, we have the long distance strike skill. A blizzard appears on the target, continuously dealing 181% attack damage to all targets in range, reducing the movement by 54% without taking any damage during its use. If there is no target, the blizzard will appear on oneself. That's huge. 54% speed reduction is definitely a fat reduction to have there. As for the modifier chips, we have the Ultra Thunder. The blizzard is turned into Ultra Thunder, which deals 2 times the amount of damage to all targets and renders the target immobile. If there is no target, Ultra Thunder will appear on oneself. Okay, I just had to open up the wiki in on my other monitor here. The damage of it is roughly 363% attack damage on the Ultra Thunder, which is quite nice, and I do like the stun it has on it. Really good for PvP. Except we have Ultra Fire. The blizzard turns into an Ultra Fire that deals damage to all targets in range and causes the target to burn, dealing roughly 14.5% attack damage every half a second. If there's no target, Ultra Fire will appear on oneself instead. And the damage from Ultra Fire seems to be 181% attack damage, just like the base damage of Ultra Blizzard here. And then finally, for the last modifier chip, we have Extreme Blizzard. The slow movement caused by the blizzard cannot be removed and ignores burning shield. Honestly, all these are pretty good for different scenarios, which is one of the reasons why I like Nana. You'd probably use this. This is probably the least useful one, to be honest. Maybe use this one versus like a raid boss or something. This is good for PvE, obviously, as it's true slow, and this just has stun. The only downside with this is that it can be negated by resistance skills or by just having burning of shield. So. But the slow you get on this is huge as it is, so maybe this might be the best option. Next up, we have the Precise Analysis. Performs a precise analysis on the target. After a short period of time, it will launch a strike that deals roughly 363% attack damage to all to the target in range, causing a defense crush or weakened defense state, and increased damage by 43% without taking any damage during use. If there's no target, Precise Analysis will appear on oneself. Again, another very, very nice skill here. Nana actually has some pretty respectable damage in her kit, and I like that a lot. This defense crush right here is pretty fat as well. As for the modifier chips, we have Arm Destruction. Applies a attack crush on hit, reducing the target's attack damage by 33%. We have Weapon Seal. After hitting, render the target unable to use a weapon. And then we have Skill Seal. After hitting, render the target unable to use skills. And these are all pretty nice for PvE. PvP rather. This is the weakest one for PvP. You might use this on maybe like some niche builds if you want to make Nana a bit more tankier, depending on something like that. But I don't even know how viable that would be with Nana, as this can just be negated via burn of shield. It could also be cleansed. Though you can make the same argument for these two as well. But in PvP, Skill Seal is pretty good. If you can stop the opposition from using the spammable skills, that's typically really good. Weapon Seal also isn't bad, but it would be more like heavily like matchup based. Like if you're really pressed for getting hit by Grudge Axe, for example, maybe you want to go Weapon Seal. But I think Skill Seal is the best option for that for PvP. As for the passive skills, we have some skills that I actually like on Nana. First up is Special Armor, 40% chance to become immune to the effects of no skills. And then on top of that, when HP is 50% or higher, reduce damage taken by 20%. This I like in particular because it's not the same as the typical, as the kind of generic, kind of useless passive skills like Proto Man EXE. Well, Proto Man EXE has other really good passive skills, but Proto Man EXE and I believe Roll EXE have a passive like this, where it's just like, yeah, 40% chance to become immune to this, and then that's it. I like this because it has that alongside something else. The downside with this is True skill seal will just bypass this. So that just makes this invalid if anything has true skill seal. True skill seal is if it can't be removed or it ignores protective shield, so then it doesn't even take into account that you have a chance to become immune to it. Which really sucks and just makes the resistance skills even more useless. Next up, we have Resource Grab. When hitting a target whose defense has been weakened, restore HP equal to 30% of your attack. This effect can only trigger once more after 3 seconds. When Precise Analysis hits a target, you'll be able to use Precise Analysis again, but this effect will only trigger once more after 6 seconds. Again, another thing I like here, whenever you hit a target who has weakened defense status, you just restore your HP, which is good for sustain in general. Could help in PvP, but we're going towards an era where things are typically going to one-tap you, which is why I had mentioned earlier, maybe you want to try to build like a tankier build of Nana. I tend to like those a bit more in PvP anyway. But this is also pretty solid for the raid bosses as well, if you opt to use Nana for raid bosses, just because she has sustainability, and she has sustainability through her arm destruction. Through that, she has self-heal through hitting a target with Defense Crush, and Defense Crush is pretty good to have during raid bosses as well. Next up, we have Continuous Barrage Device. When you hit a target with a weapon, reduce the prep time for Precise Analysis by 1 second. This effect can be triggered once after a 2-second cooldown. And then, when you hit a target with Precise Analysis, reduce the prep time for a Long Distance Strike by 2 seconds. This effect can only be used once more after a 2-second cooldown. So this is actually very interesting because this allows you to keep up offensive momentum with Nana, or just like keep the pressure on. So like you use Long Distance Strike first, maybe, and then you go in with your Precise Analysis, as your Precise Analysis will reduce the prep time for this, and then you have the option to, whenever you're hitting with your weapon, to reduce the prep time of your Precise Analysis as well, alongside, making use of whatever things you have on your skills, whatever status effects you have on, which is very, very nice. Then we have Contingency Plan. Here, you can perform Precise Analysis again when you are hit, and you will gain an enhanced defense state that will reduce the damage taken by 60%. This effect can only trigger once more after a 4-second cooldown. This I would really, really like if it couldn't be removed, because of things like Grudge Axe and just like, Scourge, Undo Advantage, things like that. So I'm not really too on board with buffs like this anymore, just because this can just get cleansed, stolen, things like that. But for the initial hit, you will have the damage reduction, so that's pretty cool there at the very least. And then we have Overdrive Computation. The time needed to relaunch Resource Grab for HP restoration is reduced by 1.5 seconds, and the number of long distance strikes is increased by 1. I like this as well because this gives you another usage of your long distance strike, which is good. So that means you have more damage to deal, but it also reduces the prep time for the Resource Grab for the healing. So now instead of being every 3 seconds, it's every 1.5 seconds, which is very, very nice there. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a look at Nana's DNA. Her DNA isn't out on global, but we're just going over it just because it will be out at some point, and just so that people know what she has. First up, rate of fire increased. Increased the rate of fire of long distance strike by 100%. I don't really like this one just because it doesn't like inherently tell you. It's just like, yeah, it doubles the rate of fire of it. It's like, well, what does that mean? It just, obviously it fires faster when you use your long distance strike, but that doesn't necessarily tell you anything useful while you're just, you're just looking at it. You know what I mean? And next we have Rapid Analysis. The Precise Analysis reduces time required for lock-on by 30%. Again, this is a thing where it's just like, well, I don't know what this means if I'm just looking at it. This is a thing where you would have to play Nana to have a better, a better understanding of it. But I do like the fact that it reduces the time required for locking on by 30%, because for Precise Analysis, I believe it's Precise Analysis, after a short period of time, it'll launch a strike after it locks on. So this just makes it lock on faster, which is nice, but I would prefer something a little bit, a little bit spicier in her DNA. Though Nana already has a pretty good kit as it is for a general pull unit. And then we have Sprayer/Launcher Mastery. Increase the damage by 20% when equipping a sprayer or a launcher. I like this one here because this one is nice and flexible. As it's just like, as long as you have one of these equipped, you'll get 20% damage amplification. On top of, Nana doesn't have any inherent damage amplification in her kit, so this is good for her to have in general. But I would prefer this wasn't as a DNA. So, but having it not tied to both of them is really nice, and it allows you a little bit more flexibility, especially because of launcher. So things like the sides will, cannon god, mostly the sides will, you can use that a bit more effectively. And then for her DNA, her unique DNA, we have Undue Advantage, which I had mentioned earlier. When causing immobilize hitting a target that is immobile, remove all positive status effects. This can trigger once for 8-second cooldown. This is actually really good on Nana, but not for the reasons that you might think. This is good on Nana because you could take this and put it onto someone else. You might not want to use it on Nana just because of her. Maybe you want to use the Blizzard instead. But you just put it in slot 4, and you just put that on Doctor the Martial Artist, someone who has true stun. So when you hit someone with Immobilize, they get hit with Immobilize, and you remove all the positive status effects. So that's really nice there. Other than that, you have no weapon special attack, slow special attack, which are both nice to have there. Defense reduction special attack, which is okay there. Other things over here, you have mid-range adaptability, mid-range boost, homeopathy amplification, launcher amp, sprayer amp. I'm sorry, sprayer adaptability, not sprayer amplification. Wait, no, she has both. Does she not have launcher? Huh. Oh, that's interesting. So she doesn't get launcher adaptability. Okay, well, I mean, it's fine, just whatever. More damage up in here, but again, the downside with this is it comes attached to her DNA, which she doesn't have in global. So she doesn't have, in the global version of the game, she won't have any inherent ways in her kit to just amplify her damage, which kind of sucks. But that's it for Nana's kit. So let's go ahead and take a look at some weapons that will pair well with Nana. Alright, so if we're playing the global version of the game at this current point in time, she doesn't have any inherent boons for using any specific weapon types. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, as that's how you would use her right now in global. So first up, I would recommend just the bog standard Buster melee combo. So you can go Air Buster and then some melee weapon. Air Buster is just good. It has a speed boost attached to it, which Nana doesn't have inherently. And on top of that, your hidden skill, you have defense amp, you have homeopathy ability, which are both would be very nice, as taking less damage is always really solid as it is. But Nana has recovery in her kit, so you could make use of this if you're going a more tanky build on Nana in general. You could also make use of sniper busters on her. I think that would be okay. You could just go dual sniper. Or maybe not dual sniper, but you go Buster melee with explosive bolt or the Hawk Precision Buster. As per usual, Hawk Precision Buster and Hawk Precision Buster. I think this is the best sniper buster. Has the longest range, has the potential for the highest damage output. But for the hidden skill, I typically recommend Player Killer, as all you have to do with Player Killer is just have this weapon active. Whereas Penetration has potential for higher damage output. This is a bit more matchup dependent, not matchup dependent, map dependent. Whereas, Player Killer, you can just click it and just have it active. For Penetration, you want to make sure you're getting those ricochets in. On more open maps where you can't really get the ricochets as easily, maybe Highway, you might not be able to get the ricochets as easily, as you would on, say, Cyberspace. Cyberspace is a pretty good map for getting the ricochet damage in. So I just recommend Player Killer because of that, because Player Killer is just more consistent overall. And Hawk Precision Buster, I don't really like this Buster all that much. Well, I like the way it looks, but in usage, I don't think it's all that great. You can come out with some good damage on it, but the problem is, with Hawk Precision Buster, I would like to use Quick Hunt, Falcon Wings, because you can ignore terrain while Quick Hunt is active. But in order for you to ignore terrain, you need Quick Hunt to be active. I just ignore terrain in general. In order for Quick Hunt to trigger, you have to hit a target in mid to long range as it is. So because Quick Hunt and by itself you have to hit a target at long range. Going to Eagle Eye can hit in mid range. Ugh, wow, for that to trigger. And I don't think it has this hidden skills yet on global, so we're not even going to go over that. And then we have the Destructive Laser as a Buster option. Oh, I didn't mention Sniper Buster either. Destructive Laser and Sniper Busters are also good options to use as well for snipers, though, as basically I say all the time, Explosive Bolt's the best. However, Sniper Buster is available for free, as you can get the memories for it from the... I can't look at it right there. You can get the memories for it from the lab, so... reaches level 8, so you can get this one for free if you don't have any of the other sniper style busters. An interesting choice you can use with Nana, which I don't really recommend, but something that you could do, is the Arc Cracker. Now the reason I say you can use the Arc Cracker is because the Arc Cracker, if you hit a target with the Arc Cracker that has Defense Crush on it, you can immobilize it. And that is pretty nice because Nana inherently has Defense Crush on top of, you know, the opportunity to get the Defense Crush on the Arc Cracker's hidden skill, which is very, very nice there. And that will also combo with her Undue Advantage if you hit the stuns, right? So that would be pretty nice there. The downside with this is this Buster isn't very long range, so you have to get pretty close to use that. And I just think, like, the other busters are a lot better, right? Like, I guess it has a higher rate of fire than the Explosive Bolt, but Explosive Bolt does so much more damage, has so much more range, so you can play much safer and things like that. As for the melee weapons, kind of just your usual stuff. Nightmare, Ancient Relic, Grudge Axe, kind of things. Grudge Axe, because Grudge Axe is just Grudge Axe. I don't really like this weapon. I say this all the time. But what you do with this weapon is you just steal buffs away from the opposition, as long as they can be stolen. Which, at the current point in global, you can still steal quite a big chunk of buffs in general, so this is still a very, very good weapon. And, yeah, that's basically it. And you also inflict out of control with it as well, so if the people you're playing against in PvP aren't necessarily the greatest at reacting to having their control suddenly reversed, you'll catch them off guard with that. Over here, we have Nightmare. Nightmare is just, if you play this game long enough, you know what Nightmare is. Nightmare is just a solid weapon choice. Again, though, Grudge Axe can steal. Grudge Axe kind of deals with Nightmare, because what Nightmare does is you swing Nightmare around and you get an attack buff. That's it. A stackable attack buff stacks up to 5 times. You get roughly a 4% damage increase per stack, but you can get stolen away by Grudge Axe. Or Singularity Slasher can just dispel them. But, yeah. So, Ancient Relic as well. Ancient Relic used for its utility, where over here in the hidden skills, you get the speed. You come over here with the speed rune, and you use that to engage or disengage quickly. You could also make use of Protective Rune or Assault Rune. Realistically, I think Speed Rune is the best, though. Though on Nana, Protective Rune could be useful because Nana doesn't inherently have any kind of shield that she can make use of. Though, because these are all buffs, you have to watch out for Grudge Axe, which is a big decolon. Talk about some sprayers that you can use with Nana as well, and one of them you can use with Nana, I think it's pretty interesting, is Electric Current Spray Gun. This one fell off quite a bit since the game first came out, but Electric Current Spray Gun does have Defense Crush on it, and Defense Crush is quite nice, and it also has access to Paralyzing Current as a hidden skill, so you can inflict immobilize, and then from there Undue Advantage would be quite nice for you if you're not using Grudge Axe, right? Like, you don't necessarily need to worry about Undue Advantage if you're using Grudge Axe, but that's something you can do. Range increase is also quite nice for this, as it increases the range by 50%. It's just something you can use if you're going to use a sprayer. But if you're going to be using a sprayer, what I would actually recommend is probably the Gator Fangs. Gator Fangs is a fantastic sprayer, or the Explosive Blower. Explosive Blower, Gator Fangs have high damage outputs for sprayers, and the Explosive Blower is an older weapon, but the Explosive Blower has access to Shockwave and Instant Explosion. That just makes it so that you're guaranteed a stun every 4 seconds once you have Instant Explosion, so that's quite nice there. and obviously the stun will help you out because stunning on PvP is very, very nice. Then we have the Gator Fangs. Gator Fangs is very, very nice. It has a lot of damage like the Explosive Blower, but it trades the stun for chilling the target and reducing its movement speed. Reduced movement speed means that they're going to have a harder time getting away from you and your abilities. On top of that, Gator Fangs also has Predator, which increases your shooting speed by 65%, and I think it lowers your cooldown. Oh no, rapid reload is what lowers your cooldown time by 30%. So if you're getting close with Gator Fangs, you'll be dealing a lot of damage. On top of that, you also have Running Fang as well. And in the off chance you wanted to run a shield with Nana, you can make use of Freezing Dominator or the Snowy Spray Gun. Though again, if you're doing anything involving, you know, any kind of positive buffs for your character, you're gonna have to worry about Grudge Axe. So while you can have the Breeze Shield and, you know, have a pretty decent shield here, you're gonna have to watch out for Grudge Axe and making your life a bit more miserable. So there is that. And following that, for the launchers, we have Turbo Cannon. Turbo Cannon is just a good weapon in general. It has a very unique hidden skill, and the hidden skill just gives characters iframes. Nana does inherently have some iframes, but hey, having more iframes, it's never necessarily a bad thing. And something I always have to point out for this weapon, if you're going to be using it with any character, you can be wary of unlocking Compression Energy Tank, because Compression Energy Tank increases the range energy by 10%. It sounds good in practice, but that means that your energy is increased, so that means it takes you longer to empty your clip, which means it takes you longer to get to your iframes, which it's pretty decoling in general. And then the other launcher, the Sides Will. This shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. Once I mention launchers, you should already know where I'm going with this. This is just a great weapon. Unfortunately, most people don't like this weapon because of how common it is and how miserable it makes someone playing characters. But yeah, doesn't care about auto aim being turned off, doesn't care about being confused, will still lock on, ignores terrain. It's just a great weapon overall, realistically. Then if you want to try to cheese a little bit, going a little bit back here for Sprayer, Glittering Spark. Glittering Spark's an interesting weapon. It is a sprayer you can use that inflicts attack down. So if you actually want to try to make any units kind of like meme kind of tanky builds, you can try using Glittering Spark. Just because this has a fat attack down, you could combine it with the Mad Nautilus ship. Though I think you'd go better off going with other options if you're going to go for a tanky build with some of the units. Alright, so before we get too far into the next portion where we're talking about cards, I wanted to show off the Nana card here, because the Nana card, well, one, it's not out in global, but I still want to talk about it anyway. It enhances her special armor at base level to increase it to 25% rather than just a 20% damage reduction when she's above 50% HP. So then she has just an untyped 25% damage reduction just for existing while she's above 50% HP, which is very, very nice to have, especially because she has inherent healing in her kit, and she can kind of play from range, so you can kind of make use of that. It has long range boost on it as well, so if you're using Nana's card alongside her, it's probably pretty good to use like Cannon God or Decides Will or something range on her, you know, maybe some Sniper Busters or something like that. All right, so here we're taking a look at some other cards back in my card section on the card store this time. Nana doesn't have any inherent weapons she works well. She doesn't have any inherent, you know, amplification damage mitigation with. So for PvP, it's gonna depend on what you're using, just kind of in general. But generic things you can use in PvP: Player Sentinel, Player Killer, you know, things of that nature. And for Player Killer, we always have to mention the M Bison card, which is obtained from the Street Fighter Menace Player Killer 2 inherently. On top of that, we have the Life Aura card from Base EXE, which you can get from the token shop, and the Sigma X4 card. has Player Killer 2, also obtained from the token shop. Some other cards you can use as well. I just probably went right past it. I'm talking about the Street Fighter card. Akuma card has Master of the Fist when targets player. Increase damage you deal and mitigate damage you take by 4%, which is really nice because it'll stack on A-level player killer and level player sentinel. So that's really good there. And if you're going to use like the double buster setup, like I had mentioned earlier, you can't go wrong using double buster. And if you are, you're going to be using the Elite Hunter, 2 copies of Elite Hunter, because you get the double amplification and double adaptability. Damage amplification and mitigation, so you use 1 copy at 5-star and 1 copy at less than 5-star, and you have 18% damage amplification and mitigation just off of that alone. And then a decent red card to combo with that, because it triggers well, is the Access Memories card, which you obtain from the Deep Recorder. I forgot to mention it, but the Elite Hunters card you get from your guilds. So hopefully you're lucky with some of those and you get quite a few copies of these for all your needs. If you're a bit unlucky getting the Elite Hunter card, you can make use with successfully completed. It's not as good as Elite Hunters, as it only has double amplification, but you can still get the 18% damage amplification and damage mitigation because it triggers off of blue-green. So you dump 2 of these and then a green card next to that, and remember to make sure one is at 5-star and one is at less than 5-star if you are going to do that. For player sentinel, you can make use of the Spy Devil card, which is from the Halloween event, so if you missed it, that's a little unfortunate, but it triggers off of yellow, red, so you can stack 2 of these together. Again, 1 at 5-star, 1 at less than that, to have, I believe it's 14% mitigation, as this will go up to 8% at player sentinel 3. Mitigation for that. Oh, I have a 5-star right here. Yeah, so you have 14% mitigation. And you also have access to the out of control special attack as well. So if you are using Grudge with Nana, you throw on 2 of these cards and you have some damage amplification and damage mitigation by 14%. So it's kind of like you're using Double Buster at that point with this setup right there. Then you also need a red card, obviously, as well to trigger off of that. The only red cards I can think to immediately combo with this aren't even really that great options if you're using this in PvP. Immediately my first thought was Hino and Minoto, because I like that card and I would have an immediate, like, that's just the first red card I think of that triggers off of yellow. But Hino and Minoto isn't that great for PvP. Next up was Mr. Match, but the problem with Mr. Match is Mr. Match has out of control special attack 2, and you would have access to that already for one of these. And then the third card is actually not bad. I don't think it's that great. I don't own it, but at least I think you can get this card on global right now. I don't remember, but Furham actually triggers off of yellow, red. Gets you out of control resistance, which isn't all that great. But if you're pretty annoyed by Grudge Axe, it's an option you can do there, so that you're just not getting constantly knocked out of control. You just have to worry about it stealing your buffs, but there's not really much you could do about that. And then other than that, like I said earlier, it's gonna just depend on what you're using. Like if you're going to be using launchers, maybe launcher adaptability, or launcher launcher amplification. Same for sprayers. My first thought is Dr. Gordile. Not necessarily a good card. Oh, also here's Hino and Minoto, Bunny Dongo. But yeah, that's it. Dr. Gordile is a card. Where is it? Yeah, for sprayer. So my first thought for sprayer cards, like it's not that good. But yeah, spray amplification 2 and 3. If you were to stack 2 of these together, so that's 14% extra damage when using a sprayer. All right, and that will wrap up this video about Nana. Good luck to those of you pulling for her, even though technically we all are, simply because of the week of free pulls in the global version of the game. I like Nana. Her kit's pretty interesting. And she's pretty flexible. in terms of like her status effects and things like that, what you can do with her. I think her biggest downfall is she came out shortly before like things started getting really like power creep, like that Armor Zero and things like that. But also like her like being a tank isn't all that great anymore because of things like that Armor Zero and that power creep. But overall, I think she's a pretty solid unit in the PvP scene. She might struggle a bit versus the the tippy top of like the meta units, but I think she can do okay versus them at the very least. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed. If you did, appreciate if you guys could like, comment, and subscribe. My channel also go streaming German content. And real quick, just gonna give a quick shout out to my YouTube channel members and my patrons for continuing to support me, allowing me to do what I do. If you'd like to support me as a YouTube channel member or as a patron, you can do so. You can find out how to do that information down below, and I'll catch you guys next time. Later.